Well, we're influenced really by the weather and the seasons. I mean, that's sort of, we react to what's delivered to us. And apart from that, we're in control of our own lives, our destiny. We haven't got all the outside influence of, media and marketers and massive corporations trying to sell their products to us and make us think a certain way. We still value tradition and the culture of, not only this company, but the way people have lived, the pioneers lived out here. That's still important to everybody because we're still doing what they had to do. Once you get out of the car and out in the bush, nothing's changed for forever, really. You still got to, rely on yourself and think what you're doing, and it's all about survival, isn't it? Yeah, so in terms like that, it is real. I'm John Cobb. I'm the manager at Durham Downs station in southwest Queensland. I'll bring you here because we're on the edge of the Cooper here. That's the floodplain right there. We're virtually standing right on the edge. And what Kidman did years ago, he targeted properties on the three big rivers in Western Queensland. So there's the Cooper, which is here, the Diamantina and the Georgina River. And the beauty of those properties with those rivers on it, it didn't necessarily have to rain on the place to have a good season, because what happens, the headwaters of these particular rivers, they're up in a higher rainfall area than what we're actually in. So we'll get all the runoff off a rain 500 or 1,000 kilometres to the north. So that was the strength of these places, and Kidman understood that.
And as a result, he was able to build up a network of holdings and a herd of cattle, which gave him the reputation as the cattle king.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the other thing he was trying to do is connect his places so he could walk his cattle to markets, because you've got to remember, in those days there was no road transport. Everything had to be walked off these places. And
so how have things changed in the cattle industry over 100 years?
Probably the two biggest things here, it's obviously road transport for us, trucks. That gives us a lot of options of when we can move stock. We're not reliant on good seasonal conditions on the stock routes, because years ago drovers were walking them away, but if it was dry they had to stay here, and ride it out. And probably the other thing here, a lot more water development. I mean, once you're away from these rivers, it's pretty dry, but we've put in dams, bores all over this place, so it's pretty well watered, and we're utilising the whole place now, whereas years ago they were probably all along the river frontage,
Well, we're right here on the edge of some of this channel country, so let's go in and have a look at how it looks and how you use it in this cattle operation. Well, John, I understand we're right in the middle of channel country here. In fact, we're between two of the stream channels of the Cooper Creek, yeah, this is probably known as some of the best cattle country in Australia. So, can you tell us a bit about this, where we are?
Okay, John. Yeah, well, this is just typical Cooper floodplain here. It's been underwater for a few months earlier this year. The water got off it a couple of months ago. So it's just starting to respond and grow now. So you can see the different plants. The blue bush here, it's getting the leaf back on it. Plenty of clover coming up everywhere. Some of it here, that's probably the best feed we've got here. That's pretty high protein. That'll fatten cattle, no problem.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that it's only intermittently productive, and it may not be productive every year. And when you say this was flooded, how much water was on this land earlier in the year?
Well, I'd say we're knee deep where we're standing now.
Knee deep.
But
and
you go into the channels there, it could be anything 20 to 30 feet deep,
So when you're managing this country, you're not only managing it for cattle production, but also to give yourselves a sustainable grazing system and so on as well, and preserve some of the biodiversity values out here and other things like that.
Yeah, that's right. I would just say, in a nutshell, run it like it's going to be a drought next year. Don't expect a real good season. I would say average or worse. And if you can be viable at that level of production, you'll be sustainable. If you can only be viable at, at levels of production in a good season, you're not going to last long. It's not rocket science. It's just, I would say it's not only with agriculture, it's probably anything. Just let it run at, medium throttle.